today's project, we are going to be creating a nameplate. And the main thing we're going to be learning today is how to import an image that's an SVG into Solidworks. So SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphic. And what a vector graphic is it's a image that is outlined. So you can stretch the outline. So if you were to stretch a picture, you might notice that the resolution, it might get fuzzy, it might look a little distorted. But an SVG file, since it's a scalable vector, it means everything is outlined. That way you can resize it any size that you would like. Now a few things to note before we start this. I chose a little pinball icon here and I put my name on it. So this is my nameplate. Let me rotate a little bit. Alright, so this is 2 inches deep. My letters are 1 inch deep. If you want to make your letters 2 inches deep, that's fine. But then it can be 3 inches tall. So I'm going to recreate this here shortly. But something to note here. I have some freely floating items. In fact, the inside of this pinball right here, I needed to build a support in order to connect that. So this is standing upright. So let me go normal to, we're on the front plane here. So it's going to print by laying down on its face. So it's going to actually print, let me get this here, like this. This is the bottom. If you would like for the print to be face down, this is how you can create it. Otherwise, you might have to either reverse it, or when you do your extruded boss, extend it all the way back. I'm going to rotate it so that it is flat on the bed in order to print. We're not going to print them upright. We don't need supports on this. We're going to lay it down flat. So this is my bottom. When you print on the bottom, sometimes it shows up a little bit smoother. I am not going to build what are called rafts, or a brim for that matter, which is a little bit of an outline that goes around the shapes either. So as we build this, we need to make sure that we are building some supports here, so that way when we stand this thing up, we have all of our items supported. Also, I was lucky with this font, and I don't have any letters in my name like a J or an I that have a floating little dot. If you have a floating little dot, you're also going to have to connect that. So let's go ahead and get started with the project. So the first step that we need to do in order to create our nameplate is let's go ahead and pull the image that we would like first. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to open this up. These are the 2 sites that I have on Schoology. We need to look for an SVG file. We're going to take this file and we're going to convert it to a DXF, and I have that linked in Schoology as well. So what I did on this site is I just simply typed in pinball. You can type in anything you would like. They're going to be simple images. Mine are like so. And you need to make sure that it says SVG. That means that it's a scalable vector graphic, meaning we can stretch it and resize it without losing resolution. This is a PNG file, which is a picture. So you cannot use this picture here. When I find one that I would like, let's say I want to use the enclosed one this time, not the open one, I'm going to select SVG. And what it's going to do is it's going to download it. So mine is called Game 5 SVG. I know it's saved in my downloads folder. Once I have this, I'm going to go to the other site in Schoology, and I need to select that file from the downloads, Game 5. It is an SVG. I can confirm that here, and I hit Convert. Very quickly, once that's done, I download it. So it's called Game 5 DXF. I'm going to go back into Solidworks and I'm going to open that file. So it's called Game 5. It's a DXF file. Double click it. And I have a few options here, and this is very, very important, so please pay attention. we need to import this as a new part. We're not doing it as a drawing, and we also want to make sure that we are not importing it only as a reference. We're editing it as a sketch in Solidworks. So it should look like this. Hit next. We should be able to see our image here. Great. And I hit next again and finish. So here I now have my SVG file. And once I have this model selected, click on the model here, I can do the exact same thing that I could with any other sketch. In this case, I am going to do the extruded boss, and I'm going to do it 1 inch. So I have a 1 inch extruded boss. It's asking me now, hey, I see some holes. What parts do you want to extrude? It can't extrude all of it. So when I have this, I need to click on what shapes I would like to have extruded. Now very shortly we're going to talk about this button, which is going to invert, and this might come in handy later depending on how you are designing your nameplate. So now that that's done, I can hit the checkbox here, and I now have a 3D shape. So completing the next couple steps is going to be a little tricky because it is very, very hard for us to resize all of these parts of our SVG. So what we're going to do is we're just going to draw everything proportional, and then I will resize everything to the dimensions that I mentioned at the beginning, which is 8 inches wide, 3 inches tall, and 2 inches deep. So whatever proportional, whatever is the one that needs to fit within those parameters is how I will resize this. Next, we're going to draw our base. And so I selected the rectangle tool, and I'm going to choose my image here. Let me zoom out a little bit. I'm going to put mine along this way. Let's say I want that much space for my name. Great. Okay. Now this is going to be an extruded boss. And for mine, what I did is I did 2 inches. Now here's what you might note. That might be a little tricky, and I mentioned this before. If you look here before I click OK, you notice that it is facing out the front, so it's not underneath it. I'm going to click this reverse direction, and then it's going to show up on the other side. Okay? As long as I am within the bottom of my shape, it should connect, which it does. So now since I have 2 floating pieces here, I need to connect those as well. So let's go to Sketch. I'm going to draw a rectangle, and I'm going to go from here. It's going to ask, where do I want to start drawing? I want to go from here. So now I have 2 freely floating shapes here that I need to connect to the base. So I'm going to go back to my rectangle tool again. It says what plane, I choose that that pinball flipper there, and I'm going to draw a shape. I have an intersect, overlap and intersect. Let's do the same thing on this one. Overlap, intersect. There we go. Now these, once again, were 1 inch. So I'm going to make these an extruded boss of 1 inch, 1 inch, and also I need to flip it in order to connect it. So flip it here. Great. Finish. And now I have my connection points. So if I click off of it, that is how my nameplate looks so far. Now we're hitting the home stretch here. I'm going to go back to Sketch. I'm going to choose my name. Okay, again, what plane? So I'll just click on this. You can see that it's all one, all connected now. And I'm going to type Mr. Hale. Now my name showed up down here. I'm going to need to resize it however big I would like for it to be, and I can go back and I can change this over and over again. So let me just double click on it, and let me choose a font, and I would highly, highly recommend that you choose a bolder font, a thin font. You can see the previews down here. It might print a little tricky, so let's find one. I'll pick, let's see here. The thinner the font, the more difficult it's probably going to be to print. How about this one? You can even make it bold if you would like. I'm just going to have a starting point, let's just say 3 inches tall. I don't know how that's going to work on here. Not bad. I can make it a little bit bigger. All right, let's select this so that I can drag it. I'm going to drag this up, and if I put it right on this line right here, that's where it's going to start, right there. And now I have it on that line. I need to resize this just so it fits this space properly, and I'm going to have to play around with it a little bit. So if I double click on this, I'm going to go into fonts. When I have it at 3 inches, I'm going to say that it probably needs to be, let's take a guess. I'm going to say maybe 5. Let's see what 5 does. Now yours might be different, okay? So don't necessarily choose 5. I like this. It's overhanging a little bit, but I'm going to drag it back into the flipper a touch. So let me zoom in here. Actually, let me save this resizing first. And then I should be able to grab this and drag it down. How am I looking now? Love it. Beautiful. Now once again, if I had any freely floating things like this flipper here or this pinball, I would need to sketch a rectangle and do an extruded boss in order to connect them, and this is going to be just a 1 inch. So now that I have that and it's selected, features, extruded boss, let's go 1 inch. Okay, going the wrong way once again, so let's flip it. There you go. And I'm going to hit check, and there is my name tag. Save it as an STL, something that some students have been struggling with. If you already have it saved and you want to save over it, or let's say you saved it accidentally as a Solidworks project, you need to go down to Save As and save it as an STL. Once again, upload it to the Google Drive Dropbox, have it be the color and then a space and then your last name. It'll be pretty obvious who these belong to once they're printed out, but in case you want to put a nickname, but this is where I'm going to be checking to make sure that you put something in the Dropbox in order to give you credit for this assignment.